Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight is on a big admission coming in from the United States, acknowledging its own vulnerability with how tens of thousands of American troops deployed across West Asia are within Iran's strike range. Also, a big warning coming in from Iran as the tensions shoot up between Iran and America, piecing together all of the developments for you with a focus on that crucial question: where are things headed? The answer to which has implications beyond West Asia. Also on the show for you tonight, another big question: is Russia using Starlink to target Ukraine? Getting you the complete story in just a bit. Can gold hit the $6,000 mark by the year end? Also getting you a comprehensive report on the gold prices surge and what it tells us. All this and more coming up. Washington has conceded that tens of thousands of American troops deployed across West Asia are sitting squarely inside Iran's strike range. And this is not a warning from Tehran. This is America acknowledging its own vulnerability. That too at a precarious point when threats, counter-threats, and military preparations are rapidly converging. Even as Washington detailed that risk, Iran issued a stark warning. The country's foreign minister has said that Iranian armed forces are on full alert with what he described as fingers on the trigger, ready to respond immediately and powerfully to any aggression. That statement on your screen. At the same time, he said that diplomacy remains possible and did not rule out a new nuclear agreement. In fact, the advisor to Iran's supreme leader, meanwhile, in a post on X said that any military action from America, from any origin and at any level, will be considered the start of war, and its response will be immediate, all out, and unprecedented. While Iran's army chief, in a statement, revealed that the country has added 1,000 new drones meant for destruction of specific fixed and moving targets at sea, in the air, and on land, further vowing crushing response against any aggressors. And amid the growing U.S. naval presence, Iran has deployed its own drone carrier, the Shahid Bagheri, into the Persian Gulf, near the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. So the message from Tehran is quite clear. Iran is prepared for war. And in that backdrop, the U.S. Secretary of State has told the Congress that between 30,000 and 40,000 American troops are stationed across 8 or 9 military facilities in West Asia. Let's play out his statement for you.
Here's the baseline I want to set for everybody. The baseline is this: we have 30 to 40,000 American troops stationed across 8 or 9 facilities in that region. All are within the reach.
And the U.S. has increased its military presence in the region, Rubio describing it as a necessary defensive posture to protect American personnel if Iran chooses to strike. So where are these forces located exactly, and what could Iran hit? Let's break this down for you. In Iraq, US troops operate from the Ain al-Assad air base and facilities near Erbil. Kuwait hosts major US positions at Camp Arifjan and Ali al-Salem air base. Bahrain houses the headquarters of the US Navy's 5th Fleet. Qatar is home to the Al Udeid air base, one of the largest US military bases in the region, in fact. In Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, American forces support air defense and logistics missions. In Jordan, US troops operate from bases supporting regional operations. And keeping the geography in mind, could Iran use the Fateh 110 or Zolfagar short-range ballistic missiles against the US base in Qatar? Could Shahed drones target bases in Iraq? Could the US 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain face missile or drone strikes launched directly by Iran or through allied militias? US officials argue that their reinforced posture is meant to deter such scenarios and, if necessary, stop attacks before they happen. But simultaneously, there is also sharper rhetoric unfolding from Washington. On the same day as the congressional testimony, US President Donald Trump, in a post on social media, demanded that Iran abandon any pursuit of nuclear weapons, warning of consequences far worse than past strikes. And he pointed to the readiness of US Navy carrier strike group in the region, underscoring that military force remains an active option. But American naval experts have warned that the US carrier fleet in West Asia is spread too thinly, especially amid reports that USS George H.W. Bush carrier could also be deployed to the Mediterranean. And Trump is also reportedly considering a range of actions against Iran. According to a Reuters report citing multiple US officials, Trump is exploring options that could weaken the Iranian regime. And this comes in the aftermath of the harsh crackdown that crushed nationwide protests earlier this month. Sources to Reuters saying the White House examined targeted strikes on military commanders and state institutions blamed by Washington for the violence. The objective, reportedly, officials suggest, would be to embolden protesters and signal that government and security installations are not untouchable. One US official reportedly said the discussions also include the possibility of a far more extensive military strike designed to have long-term consequences. Such action could target Iran's ballistic missile capabilities, which threaten US allies in West Asia or its nuclear enrichment infrastructure, reportedly. Another official cautioned that Trump has not taken a final call and that all options, including military action, remain under review, reportedly. So at this point, as of now, no final decision has been made, reportedly, on the path forward. But then one thing stands out right now, officially acknowledged by Washington itself. American troops across West Asia are already within Iran's reach. And any misstep could turn that exposure into a crisis with far-reaching consequences beyond West Asia. Is Russia using Starlink to target Ukraine? A new report is raising serious questions about whether technology provided to help defend Ukraine is now being used against it. According to Ukrainian officials and Western analysts, Russia may be using Elon Musk's satellite internet system, Starlink, which was originally supplied to support Ukraine, remember, to now help guide deadly drone attacks. Ukraine's defense minister, in fact, said that Kiev was in contact with Elon Musk's SpaceX over the allegations that Russian drones were using internet from Starlink satellites during attacks on Ukrainian cities. Remember, Starlink was given to Ukraine after the war started in 2022, when Moscow strikes crippled much of the country's communications network. Since then, more than 50,000 terminals have reportedly been delivered to Kiev, funded by SpaceX, reportedly, and by Western governments, including Poland, Germany, the US. The system has played a crucial role in keeping Ukraine's military as well as emergency services connected on the battlefield. But then now reports suggest that Russian forces may also be accessing the same technology. Ukrainian defense analysts are saying some drones appear to be using real-time satellite connectivity, allowing operators to adjust their path mid-air and strike moving targets, including civilian trains. Indeed, a Russian drone hit a Ukrainian passenger train on Tuesday, remember, as it was traveling in Ukraine's eastern Kharkiv region, killing at least 5 people. Ukrainian president, meanwhile, has said in a social media post, I'm quoting, in any country, a drone strike on a civilian train would be regarded in the same way purely as an act of terrorism, quote unquote. The Ukrainian deputy prime minister said in a social media post that according to preliminary information, the attack involved 3 Iranian-made Shahid attack drones, which hit the engine and 1 passenger car, causing a fire. If confirmed, this would basically mean that Russia is using the same system once described as a lifeline for Ukraine to carry out attacks inside the country. In the aftermath, even Poland's foreign minister accused Starlink of making money on war crimes, quote unquote, claiming the service has become part of Russia's battlefield infrastructure. And he has called on Musk and SpaceX to take stronger action to prevent misuse. Musk, on his part, has rejected the accusations, saying Starlink does not allow offensive military use and that its terms strictly prohibit such activity. And he also pointed out that Ukraine itself remains one of the system's biggest users. But Starlink's growing role, showing how big of a role it actually is playing in modern warfare overall, with nearly 8,000 satellites in orbit. SpaceX now operating the world's largest satellite network. Its technology provides faster and more reliable internet than traditional systems, which also gives the CEO Elon Musk unprecedented influence in military and security affairs. Poland, which is one of Ukraine's main supporters, has said it uses multiple satellite providers to reduce security risks, even if that means high costs. Analysts are warning that once such technology spreads, it becomes extremely difficult to control who uses it and how. SpaceX has not confirmed whether its system was used in recent Russian attacks. The company has not responded directly to the latest allegations. Reportedly, Russia also denying deliberately targeting civilians. Is gold going to hit $6,000 soon? That's the big question investors around the world are asking at this point as gold prices surge to record levels, driven by the rising global tensions and growing uncertainty about where the world economy is really headed. And on Thursday, gold prices soared to a fresh record, near $5,600. Its highest level ever. The rally comes after US President Donald Trump sharply escalated his warnings against Iran, raising fears of another military confrontation in West Asia. At the same time, oil prices are rising, currencies are weakening, and financial markets are turning cautious. And all of this is pushing investors towards one asset that they traditionally trust in times of trouble, and that is gold. So gold continues to rise sharply, triggered by multiple reasons. Essentially, Trump has warned Iran to return to nuclear negotiations, like we said, and hinted at possible military action if talks fail. Reportedly, the US, meanwhile, has moved warships into the region. Iran has responded with threats of its own. And all of this has revived fears of conflict in the region that supplies a large share of the world's oil. Whenever tensions rise in West Asia, global markets become nervous. Investors worry about disrupted trade routes, rising fuel prices, also wider instability. And when the fear rises, money usually flows into safe assets, like gold. The second reason is the weakening US dollar. The dollar is the world's main currency. It is used in global trade, oil pricing, central bank reserves. And when the dollar weakens, it signals that investors are losing confidence in the US economy or its leadership. A weaker dollar also makes gold cheaper for buyers in other countries. increasing demand. Recently, Trump has suggested that he is comfortable with a weaker dollar because it makes American exports more competitive. And that message has added pressure on the currency and boosted gold further. The third factor, interest rates and the US Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, or the Fed, is America's central bank. As you may be aware, it decides how expensive or cheap borrowing is, not just for the US, but for much of the world. Because the US economy is so large, Fed decisions in a way influence interest rates, investments, and currencies globally. At its latest meeting, by the way, the Fed kept interest rates unchanged, but investors believe rates could be cut later this year. And this expectation is linked to Trump's plan to appoint a new Fed chair soon. The Fed chair, of course, is one of the most powerful economic figures in the world. Their views shaping how much money flows into markets, how strong the dollar is, and how risky assets perform. Many investors expect Trump to choose someone with a dovish stance. But what does that mean, really? A dovish central banker prefers lower interest rates and easier money policies. They focus more on supporting growth and jobs, even if inflation rises. The opposite is a hawkish official, basically someone who keeps the rates high to fight inflation. If a dovish chair takes charge, interest rates are more likely to fall. And when rates fall, gold becomes more attractive. And that is because gold does not pay interest. So when bank deposits and bonds offer lower returns, investors are more willing to hold gold instead. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of the growing political uncertainty. Trump's tough language when it comes to Iran, questions over the American economic policy, debates over the dollar's role in the world, concerns about global leadership, all of this put together, creating what analysts describe as a trust problem. Market strategists say gold is no longer behaving like a normal commodity. Instead, it's becoming a measure of confidence. And when people trust governments, institutions, currencies, gold prices usually stay calm. When that trust weakens, gold rises. In simple terms, investors are buying gold because they are unsure about who and what to believe anymore. And the impact is visible across markets. Oil prices are climbing on fears of supply disruptions. Asian and European stock markets moving unevenly. Some countries like Indonesia, in fact, are seeing sharp volatility. China's troubled property sector is showing signs of stress again. And currencies remain under pressure. All of these signals point to a world economy facing multiple risks all at once. Geopolitical, financial, political. So the question still is, can gold really breach $6,000? Can it reach the $6,000 mark? Some experts say it is now possible if the tensions with Iran continue, if the dollar stays weak, and if the interest rates are cut. Others warning that prices may fall if diplomacy succeeds or the markets calm down. But then one thing is for sure, this rally is not just about speculation. Gold is rising because uncertainty is mounting. And until that certainty fades away, investors are likely to keep turning to it for safety. On to Pakistan now. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan's health continues to be in danger, it seems. PTI officials are saying that PTI founder is facing severe eye damage and his access to medical treatment is being denied. The 73-year-old leader has been in solitary confinement since August 2023, remember. His lawyers and family claim they have been denied access to him for the past 3 months, in fact. And a court order stated Khan should be allowed visits by family and lawyers twice a week. But the PTI chief last met his lawyers 100 days ago, reportedly, and a legal petition by his party leaders to get access to him in person was rejected this week. Time and again, PTI supporters and the sisters of Imran Khan have staged protests outside the jail. The police even often tried to disperse the crowd by making arrests. Their calls have not been received so far. Their worries have worsened after reports that the former Prime Minister had been diagnosed with a dangerous blockage in the retinal vein in his right eye. The condition, also known as a central retinal vein occlusion, if left untreated, can cause permanent damage to eyesight. Khan reportedly already has blurred vision because of the condition. PTI has said the prison authorities had not allowed his personal doctor to examine him for months, which they said was reckless, and they have cautioned that Imran Khan's health is in grave danger. Imran Khan is serving sentences for corruption and leaking state secrets, remember, which he has claimed are part of a state-sponsored campaign to keep him out of power. The PTI founder was first sentenced to 3 years for selling state gifts. And in January last year, after that, he was sentenced to a further 14 years in prison on corruption charges. And his wife was sentenced to 7 years in the same case and remains in jail. A quick look at this point on what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. China has executed 11 members of the Myanmar scam mafia. Getting you all the details in just a bit. You don't want to miss this. With an asteroid heading towards the moon, will it strike the lunar surface? What is being said at this point? Getting you that in just a bit. A heartwarming story of a miracle in China. An 8-year-old boy who woke up from a coma after listening to messages of love and familiar sounds being played. All this and more coming up. New findings showing how the son of Iran's supreme leader has built a secret global property empire, kept hidden from public view. In North London, on a road known as Billionaires Row, several large mansions sit behind high walls and locked gates. Many stand empty. According to a Bloomberg report, these homes form part of a much larger financial network, a network that leads to the man we are talking about. He is 56 years old and the second son of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, often touted as a potential successor to his father. Western intelligence assessments say he controls a wider investment empire, a network reportedly stretching from Tehran to Dubai and Frankfurt. He avoids holding assets in his own name, and most ownership traces back through layers of shell companies reportedly, and has played a direct role reportedly in major deals. Some going back to 2011, the empire reportedly covering shipping in the Persian Gulf, bank accounts in Switzerland, luxury property in the UK worth more than $138 million. Some estimates putting the total money involved at several billion dollars, and this money moved even after the US imposed sanctions on him reportedly in 2019. The properties include prime homes in London reportedly, one house alone costing 33.7 million euros when it was bought in 2014 reportedly. The network also reportedly owning a luxury villa in Dubai's most exclusive area and high-end hotels across Europe, including in Frankfurt. Documents showing funds moving through banks in the UK, Switzerland, and the UAE. Much of the money comes from Iranian oil sales. And according to the Bloomberg report, he set up a financial network abroad. This network built banking ties across Europe and moved profits from oil exports through a complex web of companies based in the UAE. Much of the money is then reportedly passed through non-Iranian firms. None of the assets reportedly appear directly in his name. Many are linked to Iranian businessman Ali Ansari, who the UK sanctioned last October. Ansari denies any financial or personal ties to him and says that he will challenge the sanctions. Now, there is little sign of personal luxury or proof that the family has used foreign assets to fund lavish lifestyles reportedly, but reports of this hidden wealth coming at a time when many Iranians face poverty. The country has been facing unrest, deadly protests, China has executed 11 members for their links to the Ming family, a criminal gang that operated a large-scale scam network in Myanmar. The gang is accused of running mafia-like operations and killing workers who attempted to escape. According to the local media, the 11 individuals were sentenced to death in September after being found guilty of crimes, and more specifically, cyber crimes in bordering regions. The charges included homicide, illegal detention, and fraud. Two of the defendants appealed their sentences, bringing the case to China's Supreme People's Court. The Ming family was one of several criminal groups operating in northern Myanmar. They were accused of running hundreds of compounds involved in online scams, prostitution, and drug production. Some members reportedly held positions in local government and militias. Their group, led by Ming Shuechang, was closely associated with a compound known as Crouching Tiger Villa. It is an autonomous region along the China-Myanmar border that is being referred to. According to the local media, in fact, the gang employed thousands of people to carry out online fraud and other crimes. After years of complaints from relatives of the trafficked workers, Chinese authorities started the operations in 2023. The case also gained a lot of international media attention, leading to more pressure on China. In November 2023, China issued arrest warrants for the Ming family members. The authorities offered rewards ranging from $14,000 to $70,000 reportedly for information leading to their capture. Artificial intelligence has become the subject of a massive debate as the deepfake menace has been provoking outrage around the world. South Korea now has taken steps to address this. It has become the first country in the world, in fact, to implement a law aimed at regulating AI. Let's break this down and a closer look at the law now. It's known as the AI Basic Act. It requires firms to add invisible digital watermarks to AI-generated creative work like cartoons and artwork. Most importantly, this act mandates deepfakes to be clearly labeled as AI-generated. Additionally, assessment and human supervision of high-impact AI systems that have potential to significantly alter human life, safety, and fundamental rights has been made compulsory. Firms that violate these provisions can be fined up to $20,400. Incidentally, the European Union enacted an AI law in 2024 itself. However, it will be fully implemented only by 2027. It banned AI applications in areas like behavioral manipulation of people and biometric identification. It called for all high-risk systems to be assessed before being introduced in the market. This law also requires generative AI like ChatGPT to disclose that the content was generated by AI and prevent generation of illegal content. The AI Basic Act is perceived to be of vital importance in South Korea, which accounts for almost 53% of deepfake porn victims, reportedly. In 2024, authorities uncovered large number of chat rooms on Telegram that were distributing fake sexual images made with AI. However, the law has been panned by some human rights groups for not having enough provisions to protect citizens from risk. And this comes at a point when AI chatbot Grok, remember, has been embroiled in a massive row for creating millions of AI-generated sexualized images of women, allegedly. Multiple countries, including Indonesia, Malaysia, UK, France, India, Australia, US, European Union also, initiated investigation into this. Finally, social media platform X announced in mid-January that it has implemented technological measures to prevent Grok from editing images of real people in revealing clothing. With South Korea taking a lead now, the question still is over whether other countries will follow suit. Extreme weather events have gripped the whole world. Transport services have been disrupted. Thousands have been displaced. Several have lost their lives. Many are waiting for aid desperately. Whether it's a landslide in Indonesia and Italy, multiple storms in Europe, snowstorm in Russia, or flooding in Mozambique, countries are scrambling to contain the damage. The effect of climate change is visible now all the more. For instance, more than 1,500 people had to be evacuated from an Italian town due to a landslide that saw a 4-kilometer section of a cliff crumble during a storm. 2 out of 3 provincial roads in this region are unusable. A day earlier, the Italian Prime Minister inspected the area affected by the landslide and attended a meeting to take stock of the situation. Meanwhile, displaced locals have voiced their anguish at the current situation. Listen to this.
These are extremely difficult moments because I have close friends I've known all my life as we studied together, and they've lost everything. They've lost all they had. It's heartbreaking, truly.
And other parts of Europe have seen deadly storms. Storm Chandra brought heavy rainfall to the UK while causing intense flooding in Ireland. Over 15,000 homes and businesses have lost power. More than 300 schools have been closed. Additionally, public transport services were disrupted. Meanwhile, a storm killed at least 4 people and left over 800,000 citizens of central and northern Portugal without electricity. It toppled trees, damaged homes, and impacted traffic. On the other hand, a snowstorm battered Moscow and central Russia, prompting an orange alert for the upcoming days. And this was the heaviest snowfall witnessed in Moscow since 1995. Around 145,000 personnel were mobilized for snow clearing operations. Asia also has not been spared by natural calamities. At least 50 people have died in Indonesia's West Java province owing to a landslide caused by continuous heavy rainfall coupled with local geological factors. The authorities have deployed search and rescue dogs to assist joint teams in locating victims buried under the landslide debris. On the other hand, severe flooding in Mozambique displaced thousands, forcing residents to evacuate the submerged homes. People are being forced to wade through knee-deep water, navigating collapsed roads. Boats are ferrying essential supplies to the people. Our next story is about a miracle in China. It's the story of an 8-year-old boy in China. According to a report by Chinese media outlet The Paper, he reportedly got injured in a road accident. This was in November last year. And that accident caused severe damage to the boy's brain and lungs. He fell into a coma. He reportedly spent 55 days in that state. That is a long time. You know how the ordeal ended finally? According to doctors and his family, he reportedly regained consciousness thanks to the messages and videos from his classmates. It's a heartwarming reminder about the impact that love, friendship, these bonds can have on our lives. Also about the importance of hope and not giving up. Doctors reportedly told his family that the chances of him waking up were extremely slim. But the mother refused to give up, and she was reportedly told by a doctor that familiar sounds or his favorite music might help. Basically, she was told they could stimulate some areas of his brain. And so the mother, after getting that suggestion, started doing the same. She reportedly began playing recordings, familiar sounds that were a part of the boy's daily life before the accident changed everything. Like the morning exercise tunes, playing videos by the boy's bedside every day. In one video, reportedly, a message from a classmate urged him to wake up so they could go play football together. Another one where he was reminded about how much he was being missed and how they need to start studying together as the exams were approaching. Other classmates reportedly sang his favorite song. Fun stories from the classroom were also shared. And then the miracle happened. It all worked. After 45 days in a coma, there were some signs of improvement being shown by the boy. And then days later, he reportedly reacted again when he heard his teacher's voice and smiled. And on the 55th day after the accident, the boy regained consciousness. Now, the story is a miracle. It's also a reminder for you to just be grateful for the friends in your life, for those bonds that are unparalleled and life-changing, quite literally. An asteroid is heading towards the moon. Right now, there is a 4% chance of a smash in 2032. Astronomers are saying a collision will shatter the lunar surface and send shock waves through the vacuum. If it does, Earth will not escape untouched.
Space rock known as 2024 YR4 has been under intense scrutiny since its discovery in late 2024. Initially, astronomers tracked it for a possible Earth hit, a rare event with grave consequences, before ruling out that threat completely. But what emerged next has once again captured the attention of the global scientific community. There is now about a 4% chance this asteroid could slam into the moon on 22nd December 2032. At roughly 60 meters across, comparable to a moderately large building, 2024 YR4 is not enormous by cosmic standards, yet big enough to pack a punch. If it impacts the lunar surface, models suggest it would unleash explosive energy equivalent to several million tons of TNT, carving a crater up to a kilometer wide and flinging rock and dust into space. Researchers point out that if the moon is struck, hundreds of thousands of tons of lunar debris could be hurled off the moon's weak gravity well. Some fragments might fall towards Earth, burning up spectacularly in our atmosphere, a meteor storm unlike anything seen in modern history, while others could pose a hazard to satellites, space stations or future lunar missions. If 2024 YR4 does strike our nearest neighbor, Earth will gain a front row seat to one of the rarest natural events in the solar system. Sensors, telescopes and spacecraft will watch closely, gathering data that could reshape our understanding of lunar geology and the ever-present threat from the skies above.
If you have never heard of the living root bridges of Meghalaya, let's tell you about them. India has formally submitted its nomination for UNESCO World Heritage status for the 2026-27 cycle in what would be a major step towards global recognition of one of India's most unique indigenous traditions. Now, it's called a living bridge because these are actual roots of actual trees that are alive, and as they grow longer, the local Khasi and Jatia communities keep working on them, weaving a bridge over streams and rivers over many years. They guide the roots across the water to grow strong, natural bridges that have lasted for centuries, all thanks to the patience, effort, dedication, and respect for nature shown by the local indigenous community. They are sustainable and surprisingly very sturdy, meticulously crafted by the tribes who have for centuries trained and weaved the aerial roots of rubber trees across rivers. It's a truly remarkable story. And now India wants the world to see and marvel at this creation. India's ambassador and permanent representative to UNESCO, in fact, handed the nomination dossier over in Paris to the director of the World Heritage Center. And Meghalaya's chief minister also welcomed the move, saying it will help ensure that indigenous communities, who are the true guardians of this living heritage, receive the recognition they richly deserve. The living root bridges are locally known as Jenkaingri. Found across the southern slopes of Meghalaya's Khasi and Jaitia hills, these bridges are not made of steel, wood or concrete. They are grown from living tree roots. And for generations, indigenous communities have trained the roots of the rubber trees to grow across rivers and streams, creating natural bridges that strengthen over time. Each bridge, by the way, takes decades to mature, but once formed, they can last for hundreds of years, becoming stronger with age. More than just pathways, these bridges represent a rare living cultural landscape shaped by centuries of interaction between people and nature. According to UNESCO officials, the site reflects a deep and harmonious relationship between human life, the environment, and spirituality. The nomination highlighting traditional systems of land use, governance, ecological stewardship practiced by the communities there. It's rooted in an indigenous worldview that is guided by respect, reciprocity, and responsibility towards what is regarded as Mother Earth. While submitting the dossier, in fact, India's ambassador thanked Prime Minister Modi, the Union Culture Minister, and the Meghalaya Chief Minister for supporting the bid. He also acknowledged the contribution of officials from the Archaeological Survey of India, the Ministry of External Affairs, subject experts, as well as the local communities who worked to prepare the nomination. Officials say the submission reflecting India's growing commitment to preserving living cultural traditions and indigenous knowledge systems. If the site is approved, Meghalaya's living root bridges will become one of the few cultural landscapes from India to receive UNESCO recognition. And experts believe that this could boost ecotourism, bring international attention to the region, and create new opportunities for local communities. The final decision is expected during the UNESCO review cycle in 2026 to 27. Thailand's elephant population is rising, and so are deadly human-elephant conflicts. And to curb the growing clashes, the country is turning to an unconventional solution, deploying a contraceptive vaccine. The vaccines were administered early this week to 3 female elephants in that province located in the country's southeast. And according to the director of the Wildlife Conservation Office, Eastern Thailand is seeing elephant birth rates climb by roughly 8% each year, far higher than the national average of 3%. The vaccines were given remotely using dart guns without sedating the animals. Follow-up checks have shown no complications, and the elephants continue to behave normally. Blood tests will be conducted every 6 months to monitor their health. According to reports, meanwhile, wild elephant numbers in Thailand have surged from 334 in 2015 to almost 800 last year, with thousands more in captivity. Since 2012, encounters between humans and elephants have resulted in nearly 200 human deaths and more than 100 elephant fatalities. Asian elephants, Thailand's national animal, classified endangered species on the red list. At just 36, China's Li Xia can barely move. Only one finger and one toe respond to his commands, confined by bed by a genetic condition that gradually paralyzes his body. Most would think his world was limited, but he refuses to be defined by his disability. This is the story of how this man from Chongqing in China is running a smart farm with just one finger.
Because I grew up in the countryside, I have had a lot of experience dealing with seeds, soil, and vegetables. Also, I'm interested in technologies like electronic programming. Then I realized that these two things could be combined to create a kind of smart agriculture. It's currently less common in China, so I felt this had great potential. If I succeed, I can not only fulfill some of my life's aspirations, but also earn some money and improve our living conditions.
And from his small home in southwestern China, he runs a high-tech vegetable farm using sensors, cameras, and a computer, proving that determination and innovation can overcome even the toughest challenges. He suffers from what is called a dystrophy, which is an incurable genetic disease that affects almost exclusively males at a rate of 1 in 5,000 births. Over the years, it causes muscles to weaken, increasing the risk of falls before paralysis sets in, affecting cardiac activity and breathing. Until the early 2000s, boys with the condition rarely lived beyond their teens, but with comprehensive care, survival into the 30s and even 40s is possible. He was once able to get around in a wheelchair, experienced a sudden medical crisis in 2020 when he was just 30 years old. He fell into a coma, became incontinent. Listen to this.
After I woke up from the coma, I was suddenly confined to my bed, and that period was very difficult for me. Every day, I wanted to go out again, but I couldn't. At that time, I even wished that the nights would be longer, so I wouldn't have to experience the loneliness and pain during the day. But after a few months of this, I gradually adjusted. I started looking for things that feel meaningful.
The doctor said he was incontinent and there was likely no hope to survive. We still wanted to do everything we could, so we continued his treatment at the hospital. A few days later, he regained consciousness. After waking up, his mental faculties were fine. His mind was still very sharp.
Using a computer screen above him and a program he developed himself, he monitors temperature, humidity, nutrient levels, and pH in his greenhouses. He moves a cursor with his one finger, clicks using a sensor attached to his toe. And for the manual work, he relies on his mother, who plants, waters, tends the crops under his guidance. In fact, he discovered the method of growing plants in nutrient-rich water instead of soil. Partially automated, it allows precise control with minimal manual labor, ideal for someone in his condition. Though the farm is not yet profitable, he hopes to expand and also create a sustainable livelihood for his family. A documentary focused on the United States First Lady Melania Trump is set to hit the theaters on the 30th of January. US President Donald Trump has been promoting the film a lot, claiming that it is selling out fast. But the box office projections and ticket availability suggesting a much quieter opening. Trump took to his social media platform, Truth Social, to call the documentary titled Melania a must-watch, urging supporters to grab the tickets quickly. However, a look at the theater listings showing plenty of seats are still available across major cities for the opening weekend. While the documentary is getting a release in at least 1,400 theaters across the US and in more than 27 countries, it has also quoted its share of controversies. In fact, the developments also leading to a decision that has not been revealed yet. The upcoming documentary has also faced criticism over its director, who is returning to Hollywood for the first time since being accused of sexual misconduct in 2017. In fact, the film tracks Melania Trump over a 20-day stretch leading up to Donald Trump's second presidential inauguration. The documentary promises a behind-the-scenes look at her role during the transition, from planning inauguration events to preparing the move back to the White House, including footage from private meetings and conversations. While Melania is releasing in multiple theaters, its box office performance will ultimately decide whether the audience interest matches the hype. And speaking of movies, what can be done in a cinema other than watching a film? There are now numerous options for Chinese residents, as these once single entertainment venues are being upgraded into multifunctional public cultural spaces. Take a look. A grand opening deserves a grand closing. And that's exactly what the beating retreat ceremony represented in New Delhi, taking place at Vijay Chowk. The event marks the official conclusion of India's Republic Day celebrations. Held 3 days after the beating retreat, held 3 days after the Republic Day, the beating retreat draws on a long-standing military tradition. It features performances by the bands of the Indian Army, Navy and Air Force. And this year's ceremony was filled with the sounds of trumpets, drums and bagpipe, just like any other. The ceremony also included performances by the bands of the Delhi Police and the Central Armed Police Forces. The theme honored the 150th anniversary of Vande Mataram. During the event, a remarkable formation of the Indian map with the words Vande Mataram was displayed. The ceremony was attended by the President, the Prime Minister, along with the Union Defence Minister, top military officials, including the Chief of Defence Staff, Army Chief, and the Air Chief Marshal, Navy Chief, in fact, also present. In a display of coordination and precision, the tri-service bands performed together, and this year included a special formation celebrating the Women's World Cup 2025 trophy. The beating retreat remains a grand ceremonial close. It blends music, patriotism and military tradition in that spectacle. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks for watching.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
Look at celebrities who've advocated for frequent periods of digital detox. Trace the evolution of horror genre and meet the team of Kohra as the show returns for its second season. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of South India, a daily dynamic show that will capture the pulse of southern states.
By blending the special stories, the breaking alerts, and the culture developments as well. Crazy.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
At a time when the world is hyper-connected, we look at celebrities who've advocated for frequent periods of digital detox. Trace the evolution of horror genre and meet the team of Kohra as the show returns for its second season. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.